Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us. We are live on LinkedIn, we're live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook. I have Lukasz Zelezny with me. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Thank you for having me.
It's amazing to have you here. I've spoken on stages with you virtually, been on many of the same podcasts as you, although not at the same time. And it's brilliant to have you in on the show today. You are you were the head of organic acquisition at uSwitch. You were the former director of SEO at Zoopla. You've now a director and co-owner at SEO London. You're from Poland originally?
That's correct. I was born in Poland some time ago.
Why SEO, by the way, Luca?
Mm, I could say I didn't know what to do all my life, but this would be quite boring. It's a long story. I will try to be very short. In a nutshell, uh, I was always trying to do something as a kid, and it was a demo scene on the 8 bits computers. Then it was drum and bass and making music, composing music. And always there was this element of self PR, self promotion, and so on and so on. And then later, I started building my own website. I started promoting my kind of music, and the fact that I was playing in the clubs to get some bookings. And then I was realizing that, wow, this is quite a cool thing. So why not to do this kind of like commercially? And like it's quite hard to live on music, and I'm nowhere where Ariana Grande or Ed Sheeran is. I am not an Ed Sheeran. Even I have two keyboards behind me. You see, I'm nowhere close. And I was thinking like, yeah, let's keep music as a hobby, and let's keep this online marketing thing that I didn't even know what is online marketing then, as a commercial activity. And that's in a nutshell.
That sounds fair enough. Yeah, no, I know you are into your music as well. Maybe we'll drop a link to some of your music in the show notes afterwards. So for people that are watching, people that are listening, thanks for being here. We're going to be talking search engine optimization today. Lukasz is steeped in search engine optimization. I'm curious what it's like doing SEO for some big well-known brands, so for example uSwitch and Zoopla, but also where Lukasz experiences now. We're going to be giving you some SEO tactics that you can implement immediately after this podcast, this live video, questions that you could ask your SEO consultant or your SEO agency. We're going to give you lots of tips and what we think where the focus is right now in terms of Google and search. SEO is certainly my deeply rooted skill. That's how I got into digital marketing. So it's just brilliant to be able to be discussing SEO today. We're going to be talking about things like schema, entities, internal links, content, and gap analysis around content. If you've got questions for Lukasz, please do use the chat. Please do ask questions. So what is it like working for big brands? A lot of people would say that SEO is easy when you're with a big brand because you've already got tons of links. People are constantly talking about brands, good or bad, and that drives the links from lots of well-known websites as well. So surely it must be easy for big brands.
Well, in that way, absolutely yes. And especially that you're rarely coming to the big brand on the beginning of their journey, because when there is a beginning of the journey, there is very rarely a big brand. Big brand is when you're coming to the company. Let's say you're going to Shopify, or you're going to HubSpot, or you're going to I don't know Money Supermarket, uSwitch, Zoopla. In a country like Britain, like UK, where everyone is saying like comparing prices is like a national sport. Everyone do this, these coupons, and checking the properties you really don't want to buy. Like, that's interesting, and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and then Zoopla have like, oh, another 5 million page views today. So in that way, it's easy. What the difficulty is coming somewhere else. It's coming because of the process, because of the, lots of decision makers, and so on and so on. uSwitch, I think, was very exciting because they adopted lots of this kind of startup approach to many things. So many things was much faster. Other big brands sometimes takes time, and that can be, like, if that's our 2-3 weeks to implement something, that's fine. But if there are months is very frustrating, because, on the other hand, you may have OKRs which are in the circle of 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, and how will you deliver? So you're looking for solutions. That makes you think very creative. You're looking for solutions that will help the website, help the brand, and does not um, involve that much of the internal resources, or ideally when there is no internal resources involved.
And so you've obviously been there, and it's, you must have had some seriously good learnings in your early part of the career working with big brands. That must have been helpful. But if we bring it right up to today, is SEO still important?
Oh, it was never better time for a SEO consultant, but also for SEO businesses, because I think clients are way more aware of what is this and how to differentiate between something that is good SEO, or someone who is doing a good SEO, versus someone who is still thinking fake it until you make it, and you know is thinking that SEO ends up where keyword position and buying backlink is. It become way more sophisticated, but people are way more open, way more into that. Business owners, decision makers, and so on and so on. So I think, especially after COVID era, people understood that, unfortunately, the fact that your grandpa and your father and you are running that lovely small business on the high street is not enough to secure this business, because sentiments and this love to the brand is one thing, and the practical aspects is the second thing. So people who are running this lovely cute brands and would never before think about going online through Amazon, through Etsy, through eBay, or through their own website, right now they are way more flexible, because they understand that they don't want to be another VHS rental place that will, but we have, this is so cool. It is, but it's not practical.
Yeah, so it's about, now couldn't be a better time to ensure that you can be found online when someone's searching for your products and services. Let's drill into where website owners, business owners need to focus in terms of their website. So I guess it's still about the basics, which is content and links, but there's a new era with search engines, which is around schema and entities. So just talk to me a bit about that.
So you see, I mentioned before that there is this kind of concept of improving performance with relatively low engagement of in-house dev team and so on. You don't want to bring these excuses to the person you're reporting to, like, yeah, I could do this, but I need these guys to be involved. And that's where, for example, tools which are working on the edge between the server and the browser are helping you. And that can be, for example, in links, which is still relatively new thing, and I am a big fan, soon to be an enterprise level user. It is a tool that is a one line of JavaScript, but and after that everything is happening. The magic is happening. You have your panel somewhere else, completely separated from the website, and your website is completely somewhere else. And this tool is doing a lot of good things, especially if your website is have lots of pages. First of all, internal linking. clever internal linking, topically related internal linking. Second, schema, especially FAQ, automatically injecting wherever there is like headers which start from how yada 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 or what yada yada yada. You don't need to do this manually. The system will automatically tag these questions, and you will get you have a chance to get much bigger estate in the SERP for the results of the website you're working for. Then the same as, which is telling a little more about what is the topic behind the page. You know, a classic example: film word can be a film, a movie, or a film, a packaging foil, which we cover food. So this is one of many examples, and not only in SEO it works like that. You know, I'm a big fan of Autopilot, which is my main CRM at the moment. And Autopilot is, with one line of JavaScript, is doing all the job after, is scanning, like listening what's going on with your forms. And when the form is executed by potential customer and customer clicks send, all the details are going to Autopilot. Moreover, if you're using external provider like Typeform, which I'm a big fan of, there is an API. So you know all these things, and you have this system completely detached from the website. You don't need to engage developers. Developers can focus on some other things, maybe more backend things, and so on and so on and so on. SEO is important, but it's sometimes this clash. Like we consultants are thinking like this is the most important thing, and they're like, dude, I have so many things in the pipeline. How can I help you? And then you're coming like, you know what? Give me an access to the Google Tag Manager. That's all I need. Or take this line of code and just put this into the footer and forget about me for 3 weeks, and I will come back with the results. So this is what makes me excited.
And the tool that you're talking about is inlinks.net, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. I'll just put that on the screen if people are watching. And what you're saying is that this is just a tiny bit of JavaScript that sits on the website and it injects code into different parts of the site. And the point being here is that just, you know, to bring people up to speed if they're not really technical on SEO, what Entities allows you to do is be able to put pieces of your content into the right parts of Google's database. Would that be fair to say, Lukasz?
Yeah, I would say more like entities are kind of the easiest understanding. Entities are constitute more like a topic, what the page is about, and obviously there is a schema markup to tell this to Google how this is working. But if you will see the schema markup, it's it would be very, very time consuming, extremely time consuming to do this manually, because it's like this, and very often these entities are referring to Wikipedia as the point of reference, yeah, and then finding these points of reference, finding the right code, making the right syntax, it all takes lots of time, and we're going deeper and deeper and deeper, and you know it's more like the time needed for developing this manually would go exponentially up. So the cost automatically will go exponentially up, and there is no chance. And then on the other hand, me as a consultant, I'm always looking for this kind of things that can work for me, almost like a couple of extra human beings, and do the smart job.
In terms of using inlinks, any particular tips or tricks, or you know, is this something that I could go off and do myself, or is this something that, you know, having a consultant to really guide you and help you understand it? What are your thoughts on that?
I think whoever is listening to us and is curious could go and install this and check and do this by themselves. For the bigger website, maybe hiring a consultant would be better, because we are thinking a little like, okay, where would be the biggest benefit of interlinking this page with that page?
Yep.
And then sometimes it may happen, because we need to understand that this is kind of AI based. So you know, you're getting 98.5% of accuracy for saving 98.5% of your time. But there
Yeah.
is still this kind of little issue that sometimes you need to tweak here and there.
Yeah.
And then, someone who like me is working every day with this can easily like go like, yeah, I know what you mean. This internal link should never point to privacy policy or terms and condition. Let's turn it off and turn off. And also you're doing something in one place, and this is scaling up everywhere. This is amazing, and it's doing a good job, because very often when you hear it's fully automated system, and then you hear in the same sentence SEO, that this will be something extremely dodgy. Like it's like,
Time
don't
to
run
run
away.
away.
Yeah, but this is different. This is
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
and that's why I like this kind
Because
of thing.
the difference with this is that you're sort of setting up, I guess, in some way, sort of whether you call them workflows or templates, but it's more about if for all products, for example, this is what to do with all products.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can try to be impartial here and step maybe away from inlinks and go into, there is a plugin. I don't remember exactly the name, but I know.
Is it WordLift?
There is a WordLift as well. Yes.
Yeah.
WordLift is working on very similar, except it doesn't do internal links. But yes, it's also operating on the entities. And actually, if someone really want to know more about entities, there is a very nice video on YouTube prepared by Gennaro from WordLift, which he explained in 3 minutes what are entities. Now, I wanted to mention one more thing aside of entities. There is a plugin for Google Spreadsheets, which is called something like Meta Description Writer or something like that. And the guy who wrote this had an access to GTP3 AI cloud, and is taking list of URL, and in the next column you can define what should be the length of the meta description. Obviously, you can go as far as 270 characters, but you would rather go with 150. And it will be clever cutting, not like in a half of the word. It will be cutting either a little, always to make sure that there is like end of the sentence. And then based on what you have on the page, it will try to generate meta descriptions. So now imagine that you have an e-commerce store and someone is saying like, yeah, we would like to have more naturally sound meta description. You don't need to go page by page, and after 3 long days you will say like, I prepared for you 200 meta descriptions, or you asking someone outside to prepare this, and he may do a very kind of low quality job because also doesn't have knowledge, doesn't have time. No, there is GTP3, which is really, really good AI based content writer. There is existing content, and you're generating a massive list of 200, 300 meta descriptions. Obviously, there is a cost involved, but this cost, it's, let's say, $10, $20, $30. Any scenario is way cheaper than if you would do this manually. And then you're just sending this to client or to the developer in the CSV form. It's like, just reload it, done. So it's like checkbox ticked.
Sounds like a handy tool to have. So when you were talking about the inlinks tool and entities, you were talking about internal links as well.
Only in links, you only linking between pages. This is the beauty, and I think this is why you would never say it's like something dodgy or something like that. No, you're just linking internally the same way like Wikipedia kind of linking,
and so just talk about how you might approach an internal, talk to me about an internal link strategy. I know you gave a tiny bit away there. There's no point linking to the privacy policy, for example. Just talk to me about your thoughts on internal linking and the key things to be considering there.
Okay, so let's say we have a price comparison website. I said like this is a national.
Is that because you used to work for uSwitch?
That's correct. Absolutely. And let's say you are on the blog post about what to do if your credit score is not that great. So the inlinks will recognize if you will write my credit score is challenged. That sentence, my credit score is challenged, so what should I do? People are asking, yeah. That sentence, shorter or longer, can be enough to initiate in links to link to, for example, bad credit cards. Yeah, because that's very often how it's, or sometimes some comparison websites are trying to name this different way, but it never works because people are always writing bad credit cards. I have bad credit, I want credit card. What to do? So it doesn't necessarily need to have word bad credit card. It can recognize semantically that, okay, someone is talking here about challenging credit score, low credit score. What should I do? And then, for example, let's say there is another post, and which is like, when you're traveling a lot by your bike, or to, and then there will be like the word bike, or traveling by bike can be all internal link and can be pointing to bike insurance page. Yeah, bike insurance page. And then, like, traveling can be a traveling insurance, or even it can be a life insurance because you're traveling, so you are in risk of having an accident and something like that. And someone can ask, what is it giving? And if you will think very, like, straight away, bounce rate is going down, page per sessions is going up, time on pages is going up. So that's are the three immediate benefits. And also the crawlability, potential ability to crawl faster between pages. Obviously you have a sitemap XML these days and so on, but let's say Google can kind of cross-refer that these pages are important. And you don't have a situation. SEMrush is very good in reporting this. When you're crawling a website, very often there is in notices orphan pages, so pages that been only found because of the sitemap, and the only way to really visit them is because you typed something in Google. Yeah, that's very often when you have a relatively big website. The second one is that you may have pages which have only one internal link. That's the second notice that you're getting from SEMrush. So these things are immediately fixed.
And do you set a limit to the sort of number of inlinks you might have on a blog post, for example?
I think I wouldn't say that there is any limit. Obviously, you don't want to make this look ridiculous, but I think there index itself is limiting this. There probably is some kind of ratio between text and number of links.
Yeah.
I never had this kind of situation that I have like everything blue and clickable everywhere. No, it never happened.
Yeah.
And it works, the thing is that you need to have a piece of content, like description of the product, description of the category, that at least there is a couple of sentences rather than keyword sentences that these links can be injected, because links are injected right after the moment the page is loaded. So that's very important to understand.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds really good. And then, but then talking about content then, so just moving it on, I guess one of the other big opportunities is content gaps, so gap analysis on content.
Yeah.
How do you go about identifying content gaps and considering content that you should be adding to your website?
So this is one of my most favorite approach to every customer I am dealing with, and that also gave me a massive kind of trust in eyes of clients who are operating in language that I don't completely understand. Turkish, for example, or French. My French, I can only say au revoir, and that's it. Maybe sacre bleu, and that's pretty much it. I don't. Yeah. So going forward, what I'm doing, I am trying to understand what are the websites that are strict competitors to my client website. And very often I'm receiving them from my client, or sometimes I'm analyzing data and I'm getting this from my client, and I'm getting this from the softwares. And then I'm trying to understand what are the common clusters of keywords that make 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 of my competitors simultaneously ranking in Google, and my client is not ranking. If there is the situation that, let's say, my competitors simultaneously ranking on mortgage, agricultural mortgage deals. I had never heard about something like that, but hey, this is what data is showing. Probably this is something important. So I have a bit of math behind that I'm using to group these keywords and to flip these keywords. Maybe I will do one video step by step one day, because it's a little of process, but it's very exciting process. And then at the end, I'm getting cluster. I'm using unigrams, some one words, and that can be how, what, when, but also like mortgage, credit, cards, loans for price comparison website, for example. Yeah, and then I'm building this as a pivot, as a massive pivot. And additionally, there is also a tool, SE ranking, which is having keyword grouper, is analyzing SERPs, and when multiple of keywords trigger the same URLs, then that constitute a group. And that is super easy way to take this massive gap analysis, slice the piece of the keywords that are out there, and then group them and say, like, here we have topics. And this is the moment where you need to mix your knowledge with the knowledge of client, because you're saying, like, listen, this, what you see in front of you, is as far as I as an SEO can get. Now you tell me what of these topics, what of these keywords, what of these clusters are relevant and what are not relevant. And then we have a discussion. Sometimes it's like, you know what, this is not what we're offering, or this is not what is legally possible to offer. We cannot say best, we cannot say the cheapest. Some areas are very highly regulated, especially in UK. You cannot say the best because someone can be better. You know what I mean? There's nuances, yeah. But sometimes client is saying, like, oh, I don't know if that will be good. And then I'm explaining him, and I'm using the metaphor. I hope our listeners will like this metaphor, that client website is like on the orbit of the sun. The sun is the core. This is the industries. This is where the energy is. And now we need to build topics which will be orbiting around the sun, close enough, but not too close because they will burn, and not too far because we will never get any heat, any conversions. So we need to be on this orbit, like on Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Earth. These planets, especially Earth. So they need to spin around, and I will give you an example, like for price comparison website, for energy, maybe like what is winter fuel payment, or what is smart meter, what is dual fuel, what is economy 7 tariffs. They are great. But for example, which refrigerator will save the most of energy? Maybe this is Uranus, and this is way too far.
A brilliant analogy. It's a really clever analogy. I like it. You talked about some of the when you're doing content analysis, gap analysis, sorry, on content. You talked about using some tools. Are you okay to mention some of those? I know you said SE ranking.
Yes.
What are some of the other tools that you might use to extract some of that data?
I am a SEMrush boy,
Yep.
so I'm using a lot SEMrush. I'm using sometimes search metrics, as
Yep.
you can see. But yeah, I'm using a lot SEMrush, and I'm using a lot Data Studio and the Search Console API, because I can pull much deeper view. I'm just looking for hundreds of. I think I can pull up to 1 million keywords, so I can pull this, and I can then start working. There is no tool around that will give me that deep view. I'm also blending this data using a SEMrush API and Search Console API, so I can see clicks, impressions, and then search volume, and then keyword difficulty, and so on and so on and so on. And I bought iMac with 64 gigabytes of RAM just to be able to make sure that my Excel can process everything, every little bits. So, and it still sometimes cannot, but this is as far as I could get. So yeah. So SEMrush, SE ranking, Data Studio. That's mainly for the keyword research. Obviously, I'm also using a lot Screaming Frog. I'm using Jet Octopus for crawling, especially heavy JavaScript website where JavaScript needs to be rendered. Jet Octopus is amazing. Especially that they can crawl up to 250 URLs a second. So if you don't like somebody, you know where to go. No, I'm joking. You need to
Dis-
verify. You need to
dis-
verify.
disclaimer: don't blame us.
Yeah, don't blame us. No. You need to verify that you are owner of the website. Obviously, like with every crawler, but very powerful crawler. Yes, and I think something in the niche that was really really desired. Of course, on crawl as well. So depends what is the nature of the business, depends what is the nature of the website, depends what clients need, what who they are looking for. That's the
And
way.
we've said that we were going to give listeners, viewers, questions that you could ask your SEO consultant. What would
Exactly.
be the things to be asking, and tell me, as an organization, should I be outsourcing SEO to an agency,
Hmm.
or should I be working with a consultant, and what's the difference there, and what are the pros and cons around that?
Yeah, so I think this is when someone is coming to me, then the first thing is like I'm introducing. After I'm saying who I am, I'm just saying what am I doing and what am I not doing, because this is super super important to avoid any misunderstanding. There is nothing more frustrating when client is thinking that you are a freelancer and you are telling them that you didn't tell them that you are not. So I think there is more and more businesses that are very open to bring for some time a consultant, a person like myself, like yourself, like people who are listening to us, because we have a very specific skills. We don't know how to build, let's say, a price comparison engine or a property website, but we know how to make this website working much better. Something that is for us very obvious may not be as obvious for the developer, for the business owners, and so on and so on. I will give you a very tiny example. When you creating new product and you looking for a name for that product, you very often going and looking only if this is trademark or not, and that's it. But I'm looking also who is securing the first spot. Was there a movie? Let's say one of my clients was like, "Oh, Serenity is a great name." I was like, "There was a movie. There was two movies with this name, and you will never beat this." Or like, for example, calling product ghost or something like so generic that you will never be ranking on this. You can give this advices ahead of the time and help a lot to save lots of money and to earn lots of money. So that I would say the first question from the client should be like, what you're doing, who you are, what you're doing, how you will help us, what can I expect, what I cannot expect, what you are not doing. Have you ever been working in the industry? Can you work with languages that you cannot speak? This is important. I am very successful SEO in the Dutch market, not knowing Dutch language, because I learned that you going with many content. Content is very expensive in Dutch market, but you're going to your English content writers, but because of the competitiveness, it's a bit cheaper. They're writing your content in English. Then you're going to deepl.com, which is an AI driven translator. You're translating this to Dutch and you're sending to customer know about that. Customer need to read and say like, dude, this DeepL is so perfect. And I'm like, thank you very much. And you save like 50% of you get 50% more, 50% more in the same price. So this is how I'm working with one of the customer. It's brilliant.
Your the suggestion that the example where you would check what's ranking in Google for a brand name or a product name or whatever, it sounds like such a simple thing, but so many businesses just forget to do it and don't
Yes.
think about it. And it's only
Yes.
afterwards that they've invested a huge amount of money and they're saying, oh, it turns out that, whatever brand owns Google's homepage, Google's page one for that.
Exactly, and very often when you're starting this conversation, may rise this like, oh, what are you saying about generic word? Take a look on booking.com. And I'm like, that are exactly exceptions that you will use to confirm that my assumption is right. You have hotels.com, booking.com, and cheapflights.com, maybe. But like everyone, like Zoopla is a great example. Zoopla, it's like a made up name. Yahoo, Google,
Yeah.
and like these names didn't mean anything. Facebook, they've been created, they've been built, and they've been established. I am actually contradicting myself a bit looking on this domain here I just put, yeah, because it's SEO.London, but I
But
couldn't resist.
you've had it for many years as well, haven't
Yeah,
you?
I had it for many years, but still there is sometimes confusion because there is this sponsor education something, and once I had a call and they've been like talking to me for half an hour, and I was scratching my head and I was like, what's going on here? I don't understand the word. But like, and also it's with this domain kind of, it's sometimes difficult because people are thinking like it's seo.london.com.co.uk, and it's like, no, seo.london. People are still thinking that only
Oh,
com or co.uk.
I know, and mine is fleek.marketing, and it's always followed with, so is that .com or .co.uk?
Exactly.
It's like no, it's .marketing.
Exactly.
And this,
Exactly.
I mean, these domains have been out like years now. So
Yeah. But that will come. That will come
it
because
will.
our new generation is coming, and for the new generation, it will be obvious that you can use whatever you want.
Yeah, I agree. And so we talked about schema, we talked about entities, internal links, content gap analysis, questions to ask your SEO agency. The if Where do you think the focus is moving to? Is there anything, what's new for 2022? Is it all about entities and schema, or is there anything else that we need to be considering? For example, Google only last week, 2 weeks ago, came out and said that it's going to start not ignoring, but not using meta titles anywhere near as much. And it's going to start looking at the headings, the real content on the page, to start forming its meta titles. Is there anything else, any opinion on that, and anything else that you think we need to be considering?
I think everything needs to be used wisely in SEO. The problem with SEO is that there is too much, like there is something appearing and everyone is jumping on this. You could see that happened with FAQ snippets when they only appeared and everybody was putting them everywhere. The same like a couple of years ago, stars. I know that one of my colleagues said like, and that's the reason why we cannot have nice things in SEO, because everyone is abusing them. Everyone is like, but I think there is one main trend I can see. There is this, server edge or serverless SEO, where you can go to Cloudflare and there is lots of applications which are working between your server and the browser final destination of the website. So they are working in the middle. And it's amazing because there are even like very simple applications that just maybe for tests. One of the application which I have on SEO.London is a progress bar which is going through when the website is loading. And this progress bar is not sitting in WordPress, it's sitting on Cloudflare. So it doesn't interfere with the website per se. And another thing, another simple example is like back button. If you scroll to the bottom of the website, there is like, oh, you can return click and you will scroll up. Now, why I'm saying about this is because the same method can be used to modifying title tags, modifying meta description, H1, and so on and so on and so on. Personalizedly. .NET is amazing example how they are doing this. A little JavaScript code editor on personalizedly .NET. The editor is sitting on their website, and you defining there that, for example, if client is visiting from England, show I was working with English companies, and if Romania, then show Romanian companies. If Poland, show Polish companies, because that probably will resonate better with the customer, potential customer because they can recognize this brand. Oh my gosh, he was working with Zoopla, which not necessarily means anything in Romania,
Yep.
or in Bulgaria. And you're doing this, everything is happening in their admin panel, and there is this little link that is doing all that stuff. So website is a website, and the all this marketing can be excluded and can be managed by consultant, can be managed by agency, and so on and so on and so on.
And what the big point you're making there around the browser, the thing that sits in between the browser, is that you're not forever bloating code on your website and slowing it down, but instead getting something to sit on top of it and make decisions on the fly and dynamically work. So yeah, that makes sense.
Absolutely, and I really recommend everyone who is listening to us, if there is option to test Cloudflare, because it's even for free account. You can generate very easy, like a ribbon with promotion or something like that. They may look like not very appealing things, but in fact they are just to show you how easy it is to do this thing. Another thing, which is maybe not Cloudflare but Drip. I love Drip, how easy Drip is. You're putting a line of code and the rest you're configuring on their website. And I'm using Drip for exit pop-up, because you can put the same font, the same colors, everything exactly like a part of the website. However, this is not generated by WordPress, because if it's generated by WordPress, you need to remember which plugin is it, paid, free, you need to update this, blah 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 blah.
Lukasz, this has been brilliant. Tons of value, loads of tools. I'll try and get them all in the show notes at some point as well. But really appreciate it. So the obvious answer, because it's on the screen, but for people that are listening, if they're wanting to chat to you, where's the best place to find you online?
Here in Dagenham, in East London. No, I am living in the internet, so the best way is just to pop an email on seo.london or find me on LinkedIn. And I am always trying to respond. There is autoresponder on LinkedIn, which I really like, because I've been unable very often to answer on time, but I will do my best that if someone would like to talk, then and there is also, if you send me an inquiry, then there is a link to the calendar that you can book my calendar for 20 minutes and we can have a conversation like right now, which I think works the best because we can share a screen and so on and so on. So various options.
Excellent. You've been absolutely brilliant. I've really enjoyed this. And on my podcast and these live videos, I don't often get to talk about SEO anywhere near as much as I'd like to. So it's been just, thank you personally so much for giving me the opportunity to get deeper into search engine optimization on my own podcast. And I really thank you for your time. And for people that are listening, people that are watching, thanks for being here. And hope this has given you some inspiration, but also a bit of a clearer focus on search engine optimization. So
thank you very much for having me, and likewise, thank you very much for everyone who was spending this 45 minutes with us. I hope that you found this interesting, and like we said, ask Johnny, ask me any questions. We are happy to help.
Absolutely. Take care for now, and thanks very much indeed. See you soon, everyone.